we going to do this then?
We can't.
Why?
It's Baggy Hi-Fi time. Greetings cats and kittens, welcome once again to Baggy Hi-Fi, this YouTube channel devoted to record collecting and the vinyl community here in the UK. We're now in the middle of October, hope everyone is feeling fine, coping well with perhaps local restrictions in your part of the UK or your part of the world. This theme for this video is recent psych and folk finds. I realise that distinctions may be a little bit arbitrary, especially as some of the folk records I'm going to be showing are psych folk. Anyway, I'm going to split this video into two halves, and I'm going to include some needle drops, and there are some CDs to show as well. So what would they be called? Laser drops, maybe. So there are quite a lot of records to get through, so I'm going to begin looking at the 60s psych stuff I brought recently, and also some contemporary psych at the end of that. And the same thing will follow with the folk finds. Some of them are 60s and 70s records, and a couple of those are contemporary ones as well. So quite a big batch of records to get through. So we'll begin with a 60s psych compilation of one band, The Idle Race. This is very nice compilation put out by Run Out Groove Records of California, who are a part of Rhino Records and therefore part of Warner Brothers. I think this was a limited release of sort of a best of The Idle Race. It's on clear vinyl. Many of you will probably know that The Idle Race were Jeff Lynne's band before he joined The Move, and also formed ELO with Roy Wood. He was great friends with Roy Wood because he was a fellow Brummie who's from Birmingham. And inexplicably, The Idle Race never really met with any success, despite putting out some really strong singles which are gathered on this album here. They do a really nice version of Here We Go Round the Lemon Tree, the song by The Move. And Skeleton and the Roundabout, I think, was their most successful single. A very strange song about a person that works on the fairground and makes so little money on the roundabout that he loses so much weight that he turns into a skeleton, and then ends up working on the ghost train. It's only when I listened closely to the lyrics for the first time after buying this album that I realised what a strange story that was. But very strong psych pop from 67 to about 69. Discouraged by the lack of success, Jeff Lynne left to join The Move, and the band carried on for a while, and some of those tracks are gathered on this compilation, which is called Schizophrenic Psychedelia. And they did a version of Ray Dorsett's In the Summertime, and a version of Eric Stewart and Kevin Godley and Lol Cream, who would become 10cc, their song Neanderthal Man. So very strong compilation. I think it was limited, but I would urge you to seek it out if you're a fan of 60s UK pop psych like I am. Next one is a compilation in the Rubble Series, and I've mentioned the Rubble Series before, which were a UK answer to Pebbles, that great collection of many volumed collection of garage and psych, usually from the US. The Rubble Series was put out by Bam Caruso in the 80s, and it gathered mainly 60s garage and pop psych. Now, there are 20 volumes in this Rubble Series, and there are still about 4 that I don't have. Anyway, I managed to get this one off Discogs, and it's called Freakbeat Phantoms. And as you might be able to tell by the title, it sort of concentrates on the more beaty end of psych. In fact, I suppose that tag Freakbeat, which is many people use now, is a combination of sort of punchy beat music, which started to flourish with Mersey beat. As the 60s decade moved to about 66, 67, studio technology meant that the sound could expand and use a lot more effects. So it's that combination of sort of freaky sounds with beaty sounds too. So there's some great tunes on here, especially Help Me Mummy's Gone by The Game. That's a great one. And the Fleur de Lis, their version or set to music of Edward Lear's nonsense poem The Gong with a Luminous Nose. So yeah, very strong. This is volume 13 of Rubble, and one day I will get all 20. This next 60s Psych combo I'm going to talk about, I've mentioned several times before on this channel because they are one of my favourites, and they are Kaleidoscope. The last time I spoke about Kaleidoscope, the UK band Kaleidoscope, Vinyl Richie commented that there are at least 3 60s psych bands called Kaleidoscope, and I was aware of the American Kaleidoscope, who specialised in sort of ethnic and Eastern sounding influences in their songs, and but I was unaware of the Brazilian Kaleidoscope. I'm sure they're worth checking out, but no, this one is the one I'm going to show a record by, or double album by, is the UK Kaleidoscope, and this is a double that Circle Records put out in about 2005, I think. First of all, it came out on CD, limited, and then on vinyl, which was also limited. This copy I have is a promotional copy. Very pleased to have it in such nice condition, with a booklet. Nice booklet which tells the story of Kaleidoscope. Sadly never got the recognition they deserved. They are the equal, I think, of Syd Barrett's Pink Floyd. People might say, you know, they were influenced by Syd Barrett's Pink Floyd. Maybe they were, but they went into the studio at exactly the same time as Pink Floyd did to make their first album. So lovely package. These are BBC radio recordings of Kaleidoscope and Fairfield Parlour, the band that Kaleidoscope became. Went on to record on Vertigo. What's quite charming about these performances is that a lot of them still include the introductions by the late Brian Matthew, who was a BBC DJ who carried on making a great Saturday morning programme called Sounds of the 60s. So he was a great loss to BBC Radio when he died a couple of years ago. And also, sadly, the guitarist in Kaleidoscope, Eddie Puma, died fairly recently as well. He was the main songwriter of Kaleidoscope. So great collection, nice to add to my Kaleidoscope collection. Now this next band, again another UK 60s pop psych band, were Dantalians Chariot, and I only have it on CD because I think it was only released on CD, and it's called Chariot Rising, put out by Esoteric, and Esoteric Records or Esoteric Recordings are highly recommended because they specialise in reissuing psychedelic and prog rarities. Now, Dantalians Chariot, in case you don't know them, only ever existed for about 10 months, and they released one single, Madman Running Through the Fields, which is a psych pop classic. Also of note is that Dantalians Chariot featured Zoot Money, who was a sort of 60s blues singer, and he has a really nice soulful bluesy voice, and also Andy Summers, who would later in the 70s, late 70s, found the Police with Sting. Yeah, so they only lasted for a short time, but they did record an album, but EMI, who they signed to, refused to release it, and so this is only really was reissued I think in the 90s first, and on this CD more recently, I think 2017, but very strong. I'm probably going to do a little extract of this for you to listen to. Really prime quality British pop psych. What's interesting about the story of the band, which is in the booklet, is that they had a San Francisco style light show when they played live. And not only did they wear white so that the light show would be more effective, but they painted all their instruments, including the drum kit and the organ, Hammond organ, white, just so that groovy light show would have maximum impact. So excellent issuing of the only album, which was never reissued at the time, Chariot Rising by Dantalians Chariot. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I would not just dwell entirely on 60s Psych releases, but also show you something a little bit more contemporary. And this record I'm going to show is from 2012, and it's banned by a band called Alien Ballroom, who were apparently originally called Kool-Aid, but they discovered that there's a lot of other bands called Kool-Aid, so they changed the name to Alien Ballroom. This really is extremely trippy, pounding music, very psychedelic, released on the Agitated Records label, which is a nice label design reminiscent of the Elektra label from the 60s. Side one of this is an 18-minute piece of music. I wouldn't really call it a jam because it does develop. And side two is a collection of songs that sort of blend into each other. But although it's not, it does have some sort of krautrockish overtones. It did remind me of the Faust tapes, if you've ever heard the Faust tapes, because one idea appears, musical idea, and then mutates into another one, and just especially side two seems to follow that sort of dream logic of a piece of music just staying around long enough to be interesting, and then moving on to something else. But yeah, it's a strong release from a band who are from Liverpool, contemporary Psych band Alien Ballroom.
A four-penny bus ride can take 1 hour away out of his life. 'Cause Charlie's a worker, he works from 9 to 5, then home to the wife. From his boring day, he is far away. The same little bus ride provides him with a way to face his day. From Tooting to Chiswick, his mind is free to roam, far from his home. In the land of smiles, he rides for miles and miles.
The tangerine wizard turns purple for Julie.
Mexican clowns are all dancing for Julie. Ring bells on their ankles and feel up around. Strawberry monkeys are smiling for Julie, with bell-button eyes that reflect velvet clouds. Can you hear them smiling? You see them smiling, you feel them smiling. Bubble drops upwards and comes down for Julie, while spotlight is dancing and drinking rose wine. Can you hear them dancing? You see them dancing, you feel them dancing. Can you hear them dancing? You see them dancing, you feel them dancing in your dreams.
Moving on to folkier pastures now. Some of these records I'm going to show, if you have any interest in watching videos like this, you will know and probably own. But some of them I've just acquired lately, and some of them have been from charity shops, including this first one, which I was surprised to find in a charity shop. And it is a 1972 compilation that Ireland put out of Fairport conventions highlights from the beginning of their career in 1967, have this nice family tree on the sleeve, to 1972, probably their strongest years anyway. So I've always wanted a copy of this, even though I have the individual albums. It's a double, has this nice elaborate sleeve, which Island Records seemed to go in for at the time, with this seal and ribbon and booklet. There's details about each song. Well worth looking out for. I think I got this for $3.99, and it's on the pink rim Island label. So Fairport Convention, this history of Fairport Convention. This next one I got this week. I was a lucky find in a charity shop for £1, and it's on Transatlantic. It's a Bert Jansch sampler. I think you'll all know Bert Jansch, very accomplished finger-picking guitarist, very influential, not only to folk guitarists but also to Jimmy Page, famously. This is highlights from his first few albums, and I think this was released in would have been, let's see, 1969. So this was £1, real bargain. This next band, very much a traditional English folk music trio, called The Young Tradition, and they were a trio of Peter Bellamy, Royston Wood and Heather Wood, who were no relation. And on this album is called Galleries, again on the Transatlantic label. It's actually called Galleries Revisited. The original album Galleries was issued in 1969, and this is the 1973 reissue, but the only thing that's different about it is that there are detailed notes about the songs on the back. So it is the 1969 album, but just a slightly different sleeve. Now these are really traditional English folk songs. There is one American Sacred Harp hymn on here, but the kind of tunes that Cecil Sharp would gather in his collection of folk songs. There's some those songs on here, and the Copper Family of Sussex. Augmented on this album, there are some late 60s folk superstars on here. Dolly Collins, sister of Shirley Collins, provides organ, and also on here is Dave Swarbrick, who was, as you know, was in Fairport Convention, and David Munro's early music consort as well. I mentioned them recently when I showed the Shirley and Dolly Collins Anthems in Eden album. So yeah, if you're in the mood for some very traditional English folk song, The Young Tradition, I think they made about 3 albums, and this is a very good one. Now this next one is another charity shop find. I think it was $1.99. So I had heard of the singer Harvey Andrews, and when I looked him up when I got back home, he was a Birmingham-based folk singer-songwriter, and this album's called Fantasies from a Corner Seat, again on the Transatlantic record label, but it's recorded with a guitarist called Graham Cooper, who doesn't really have much presence on this album. It's from 1975, in very good condition. This is not very folky, probably more sort of mid-70s singer-songwriter, very well crafted, well written tunes, often with a story, often they make a point. What caught my eye when I picked this up in the charity shop was that Richard and Linda Thompson play on this on one track and provide backing vocals as well. Quite enjoyable, bit dated. Harvey Andrews has a slightly strange, high-pitched singing voice. I will keep this though, I quite liked it. Now this next one is one I think you'll all know. It's an acid folk classic. It's the third album by the incredible string band. It's The Hangman's Beautiful Daughter. got that collection of acid folk hippies on the back. I always like that photo, and I like the photo on the front as well. Anyway, this is a stereo original with the lyric sheet, and I only paid £2 for this. This is an amazing bargain. I think I'll keep this sticker because it does say £2 from my local record shop, and because the cover was very dirty, I think that's why the price was so low. Well, I brought it home and cleaned the laminated cover, and it looks fine now, and the record is absolutely VG plus at least. On Elektra. Mike Heron and Robin Williamson at their peak probably. Incredibly strange songs, unusual instrumentation, some Eastern and Celtic instruments on here. This has inspired many musicians to go along this psych, weird folk route, and I'll mention some contemporary people just at the end of this video who are certainly influenced by the Incredible String Band. After sort of reinteresting myself in the Incredible String Band by getting that copy of The Hangman's Beautiful Daughter, I was texting a friend, and he recommended Mike Heron's solo album, his first solo album, Smiling Men with Bad Reputations, and about a week later I managed to find a copy of it. It was recorded for Island Records, and I think it's from 1971. Pink Rim Island. It's a Joe Boyd production for Which Season Productions, so that's a sign of quality, I always think. This is not quite as acoustic based as Mike Heron's work in the Incredible String Band. He was still a member of the Incredible String Band at that time, but this is his first solo album. A bit more of a rock direction on certain tracks, and The Who, I can get this record back in, The Who appear on here, as does Ronnie Lane, and it's, even though they're under a different name, you can tell it is them. I think I'll give up putting this record in its sleeve. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I recommend you check it out. John Cale plays on it. Dave Mattox and Richard Thompson from Fairport Convention. Yes, the backing vocals was provided by the contemporary of Mike Heron acid folk band Dr. Strangely Strange. So it's a bit of a gallery of early 70s underground superstars. But yeah, Smiling Men with Bad Reputations by Mike Heron. Now, I did see Mike Heron play about 2 years ago, maybe 18 months ago, live. He did a tour playing some of his solo music and also some of the Incredible String Band's songs. And backing him and also doing a set themselves were Scottish band Trembling Bells. I remember at the time not being quite convinced by the Trembling Bells, even though they did a great backing job for Mike Heron. Visually I thought they were very sort of contrived, you know, wearing all the kind of hippie gear and the velvet loon pants, and I wasn't so keen on the female singer's voice either. It was a bit sort of Mary Hopkins for me. But since then I've warmed to them, and you know, I really do think that they're not pastiche. They really are in love with you know, that period of folk rock, and they do a really good job of playing it for a new generation. But Trembling Bells don't exist now. They made 6 albums, but this is the first one, Carbeth, which was released on Honest John Records. Psychedelic in parts, quite traditionally folky in other parts, male and female vocals. I think I really do want to investigate more of their catalogue. It's a shame that they're not with us anymore. Yeah, so that's the Carbeth by Trembling Bells from 2009, their first album. Now, recently Dale of Gatefold 33 VC channel was talking about some more contemporary psych folk artists, and he mentioned the compilations which are available via Bandcamp called Weirdshire or Weirdshire, and this is one of them. That's the most recent one, A Cure of Souls. The Weirdshire are a collective of like-minded sort of psychedelic folk artists, and based in Herefordshire. And this compilation, they've invited other artists along, some more well-known people, including Constantine, Sharon Krause, who made an album recently for the Ghostbox label, Trappist Afterland, and I think the people behind Weirdshire are Sprotely Smith. So I'll probably play a little extract of this at the end of this video as well. But thanks to Dale for sort of introducing me to this area of contemporary psych folk, because that, looking at their Bandcamp page, led me on to discovering a band called the Left Outsides, and they are a band a duo. And this record, All That Remains, got really good reviews when it came out in about 2018. Yes, so here's the band. They are a duo of Alison Cotton and Mark Nicholas, looking rather spooky there. The music is very sombre, electric, folk rock, sort of reminiscent of the more sombre tunes of Fairport Convention. You know, the songs like Tamlin and Sloth. Female vocals, Alison sings on some of them, a little bit reminiscent possibly of the somberness of Nico. She plays a viola as well. This record was put out by an English label, Cardinal Fuzz, and an American label, Feeding Tube Records. It's quite hard to get hold of now, but the Left Outsides are just about to release a new album, which I've pre-ordered. Anyway, really, really rock solid, excellent contemporary psych folk rock from the Left Outsides. So that's the end of this roundup of recent psych and folk finds. As you see, there was, you know, a bit of a mixture of genres there. You know, some of it was psych folk, whatever. Anyway, I thought I'd put them together. Thanks for watching. Thank you to Marianne and Billy, John and Yoko, for providing the introduction to this video. I hope you are all keeping well. Thanks for watching. If you've made it to the end of this fairly long video, I'm going to end now with just a couple needle drops of those folk artists that I've just spoken about. So until the next time, take care of everyone, and thanks for watching. Bye.
With your high tones, you're messing with my fooling with your 5 friends. They are coming on too strong.